So for those who are just joining, we will be starting the session in a minute. I see that people are still joining. Okay, I think we can get started. Once again, good morning, good evening, good very early morning for those who are attending from the US. I'm very, very pleased to be moderating this panel, which is about how complex it is to build a wireless system or how simple it can be if you use the right partners. So of course we all know that Wirepas systems require a wide range of expertise ranging from RF, hardware, embedded software, system integration, cloud development and integration. And around the table, I'm very pleased that we have strong experts from various fields. And of course we want them to give you an overview of the major challenges with wireless systems, from architecture to design to development, integration, deployment, and lifecycle management. And hopefully they will help with their vision and views of the system. So I'm very glad to introduce Teemu from Haltian. Teemu, would you like to say a few words about yourself?
Hi, hello all. So my name is Teemu Vaattovaara. I'm one of the co-founders of Haltian and a chief software architect. And I think my main task at our company is to, let's say, do all the software architectural work for the Teensy IoT platform what we have, which is pretty much based on the sensor level using the Wirepas technology.
Thank you, Teemu. And we also have Gennadiy, who has woken up quite early this morning. Gennadiy is based East Coast US. Gennadiy is from Klika. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, thank you, Youssef. Hi, everyone. Gennadiy Borisov. I'm one of the co-founders of Klika. I'm president of the company working with our partners and clients worldwide. And our company's mission is to help companies to build IoT products and solutions from hardware prototyping, firmware cloud integration, and all the way to deployment. Youssef, back to you.
Thank you, Gennadiy, and of course, working with Klika has always been a great pleasure. Jukka from Radientum is also with us.
Hi, thanks, Youssef. So Jukka Sjöstedt, CEO of Radientum. Happy to be here. Radientum is embedded antenna and RF design house, focusing on the wearable and the IoT devices. So we are helping our customers and partners to achieve the best possible hardware connectivity on the RF and antenna area for their devices.
Thank you very much, Jukka. Okay, so during this section, basically we will address three main topics. First is hardware and RF, which is of course a fundamental ingredient of wireless systems. Then we will try addressing lifecycle management and also system and software integration. So let's start with hardware and RF. So question to you, Jukka, and maybe also to you, Teemu, but we'll start with Jukka. What are the challenges that you see around the RF section and antenna design?
Yeah, so as we know that every wireless device is dependent on the wireless performance, and it has an impact on the user experience, battery life, data throughput, everything. So because the antenna is the first and the last component in the receiving or transmitting chain of the device. So you cannot underestimate the importance of the RF performance in the system. And what we are seeing today is that I would say all of the devices, new hardwares are based on the modules, RF modules from different vendors to speed up the hardware development. And this has made the RF design easier and available for a bigger amount of the companies. But at the same time, it has created this kind of a bit false confident level to copy paste the reference designs into customized hardware. Of course, this can be done, and that's the purpose of the reference design. But there are multiple pitfalls in the RF area where you might struggle, and the antenna design is one of those. That antenna is not a component; it's the full device. So all the wires from the batteries, layout issues are affecting then, and of course then the user environment. So it's totally different case if you have a beacon on the smart building, and then you have a device which you are installing in the smart gas meter or something which is underground. So that needs to be taken into account on the antenna design also.
Thank you, Jukka. Teemu, do you have any perspective on the hardware and RF items? I know you're also very much focused on system level as well.
Yeah, so what we do with our products and with some of the customer projects, what we do, so RF design is part of our, let's say, design capabilities, what we do. And I really agree with Jukka that using modules is fast way to get forward, but typically even what we do is then use discrete components to design the RF performance so that it fits the purpose. But anyway, I think that making the whole product is still some kind of compromise between RF performance, costs, and battery life, and etc. So that's one variable that you have to take care when making a product.
Thank you, Teemu. So, Jukka, do you have any recommendation to maximize the RF quality and reliability of a wireless system? Is there any kind of simulation tools, or how do you make sure that the system is reliable?
Yeah, so that's quite a common question to ask from our customers, that what is the good enough in the field, and that is a question that you cannot really answer because it's dependent on the user environment where the device is used. So it's really hard, but then of course there are some things which are important ones, like Teemu highlighted there. The product is full of compromises, so it is a bit easier to design this kind of beacon product only, where you have maybe a one radio with the Wirepas, for example. But then if you are designing the gateway, where you have a Cat M1 LTE connection, Wirepas, maybe even the Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, NFC, what typically these devices have. So it's full of compromises, and then creating that kind of product that needs specific expertise. So I would say that the earliest possible, there are experts on the RF or the product making expertise involved. The better end result will be. It will be faster, and it will be more cost efficient when you don't make the mistakes with the first hardware. So what we can bring there is these antenna simulations, where we can actually simulate not only the hardware, we are simulating also the environment. So we can say that how well the device is performing when it's casted into concrete or into tarmac on the road or installed in the industrial environment. So that's one system level thinking that you need to take into consideration. And yeah, so this can save money when you know before the actual hardware prototype that how well it performs. And it's not related to Wirepas, but that sometimes there is operator requirements, for example, for the device. So if you end up building a device and then noticing that you are not able to meet the specification from the over-the-air performance, you have lost lots of money and time. So.
Thank you very much, Jukka. Very comprehensive answer. We'll move now to the next subject, and of course, if you have any need for simulation on the radio side, please don't hesitate to contact Jukka. Regarding the next subject, which is lifecycle management, I'd like to hear your view, Teemu, on installation of devices, and in particular, how do you see Wirepas self-joining helping with simplifying the installation, provisioning, and commissioning process? And of course, more widely, how do you see that as important to your success of deployments?
Yeah. So I think overall, our current way of doing installations is pretty much, let's say, custom specific, in that sense that, we have these thingsy sensor devices, what we do in mass production. But anyway, every customer, what we have is sort of, let's say, mini project by themselves. So because we will set up everything for them. And so whenever customer comes to buy thingsy based solution, then we will create, let's say, we will allocate Wirepas ID, Wirepas credential key, so that everything is secured for the customer. And then as we have these application and cloud services for the device maintenance and service level agreements, so we will set up those. So it's sort of the mini project to get started with the customer, so that everything is set up and ready for the installations. But once we have let's say, devices are manufactured and delivered to customer, then, we have been using Wirepas 3.4 version until now. So we have recently moved to Wirepas 5. So the self-provisioning is something that we are still under study. But anyway, with the current variants, what we have, the installation for the customer is made as easy as possible, so that they just take the devices, turn them on, and everything just works. And I think that's the beauty of the Wirepas when all the configuration is done at the factory.
Yeah.
So.
Thank you very much, Teemu. Maybe I want to hear Gennadiy's perspective on really managing and upgrading the networks, and we'll get back to you, Teemu, right after this. How do you see the importance of over-the-air update and managing in the field?
Thank you, sir. It is, I would say, one of the most important parts, and I'd like to echo Jukka's comments and Teemu's comments about starting right. Before we get to over-the-air update and importance of it, know your environment. Based on specific projects we've delivered, everything could go great in the lab, even regardless of radio interference in the field. But when you go into a specific installation environment, a specific building or specific warehouse, you're faced with certain challenges you cannot foresee in a lab. For example, one of the cases is a fairly large warehouse with metal racks with packages, and traditional models immediately going to go out of the window because you face multiple echoes and multiple interferences. And then the combination of Wirepas auto joining, pre-provisioning, and then installing and being able to update the logic or update certain things over the air update come into play and allow you to be much more flexible, to address problems you encounter in real life, which you may not ever foresee. That's the first part of it. And the second part is when you think about over-the-air updates, practical recommendation and what we've seen would be to plan them in stages, plan them in very careful, logical, or driven by other business rules rollout. We all remember the story of the company who upgraded their door locks, and all of a sudden thousands of door locks were bricked. Ideally, you don't OTA everything at the same time. You go in step by step, you go regional, you go time-wise, different time zones, different locations. So you are being very, very careful with OTA, but use it as a very powerful tool.
Do you want to add anything, Teemu, on the OTA and maybe diagnostics tool and the lifecycle management in general?
Yeah. I fully agree with Gennadiy's comments. So having the firmware upgrade is let's say, the most critical part of the IoT. So imagine having an IoT solution without any possibility to have the firmware upgrade. So I don't know if any of our customers would want to use a product that can't be maintained at all. And about the firmware updates, I also want to highlight that now we have been discussing about let's say nodes and sensors and devices. So I think as important is to have a really good maintenance and firmware update process also for the gateway devices, so that you have full line of products under the maintenance, because if the gateway is then the weakest link, then you might have some different problems there.
Very important as well, absolutely.
And I would like to add, Youssef, that fully agree with you, Teemu. Having strong stage OTA functionality from the cloud to the gateway and then gateway to end devices will enable different business models. And a very practical example we've seen is when you need to install hundreds or potentially thousands of devices in kind of rollout phases where you can pre-provision them, then physically install them. Even before, for example, you have the gateway. Then you have the gateway and you turn everything on and it just works. It goes through self-joining, and through the cloud, you can monitor which device joined, which device still yet to join. So that enables a much better and more flexible, not only installation business models, but monitoring and post-installation provisioning.
Well, thank you very much for very good insights here. Let's now move to the next section, which is really about system development, system and software integration. So what are the key steps that you see for an IoT project integration? And in particular, what are the challenges when integrating, for example, in the cloud? Would you like to get started, Gennadiy?
Yes, obviously, I think every project is different, but IoT, what we've seen is complex. I would like to start with a quote. I believe the Amazon CTO said that there is no compression algorithm for experience. Jukka said that a lot of people assume things and they do copy and paste on reference design, and then they're surprised that things don't work. Well, from our experience, I would say, make no assumptions. Even if reference design works very well, assume that things could go wrong and prepare. Learn as much as you can about your environment, about the business target of why the customer, why the company is doing this, and assemble as much of the information profile as possible. But the way we've done a number of projects is focus on somebody who can manage this project. Of course, strong development team is the key, but then QA, and QA. If you can allocate more time than you think for QA and assessing different variations of environments or devices or even user behavior, it will greatly help. So from the project perspective, talk to the company, list all the potential risks and start thinking how you can address them together with the client in our situations before you deploy that device. It is much better to spend time before you deploy than going through updates, OTA, with many battery-based devices and being only resource constraints.
Thanks. Thank you, Gennadiy. Very, very good perspective, and very much echoing the way we manage projects within Wirepas is really about, we focus a lot about the testing in our testing farms and making sure that the test process is iterative and that we are improving based on the experience we get from other projects. Very good perspective. Teemu, would you like to comment on really the key steps for the IoT project integration and also about the cloud integration, which you didn't mention, by the way, Gennadiy? We'll come back to that.
Yeah, so a few comments. So yeah, I fully agree what Gennadiy was saying, and I think any project, it's IoT or not, starts from the customer requirements, what the customer is aiming to have. and what they need, and in case of IoT, so what is the data they need, what are the typical communication and data format they need, and then also discussing with the customer, okay, how do they actually then operate, let's say, sensors at the field? So do they have some annual processes that the sensors must fit into, or is this something that we need to create a new process with the customer that they can now start having, let's say, digitalized assets in their business? So I think it really depends what is the customer, this kind of how technical they are. So there are so many levels how to do the, let's say, process-wise integration. And then about the actual data integration, so how we have solved the issue is that we are sort of providing IoT as a service, so IoT data as a service. So we will just with the customer, we will start discussing, okay, what kind of data they need, and then if we have a devices or not, then we might create new ones or look some third-party options. But anyway, trying to make for our customers as easy approach to IoT as possible, so that they can focus on their business and we can help them to actually start fast and go for the commercial solution.
Right.
Thanks very much, Teemu. Yeah, Jukka, you had a perspective. You wanted to add something?
Yeah, actually, this was well described. What Teemu said there, that this ecosystem is about focusing on your expertise. There's no point to try to master everything. Use the ecosystem and make a better product, make a better user experience for the customers or your end users by using the expertise, because then you will definitely save time and money in all of these, in the hardware area, and there's a whole system installation, and also in the end of the life or upgrades in the field. So it applies to everything.
100% agree. This is the best way. Is to leverage really the expertise that is around us, not only inside our companies, to actually move faster, and very usually this is leading to better quality and faster time to market. Thanks, Jukka. Gennadiy, I wanted still to hear your perspective on cloud integration, because of course this is a very important subject, and in particular, if you like, when scaling a network beyond a few thousands of devices, what are the challenges and what are the solutions that you actually have implemented?
Thank you. And working with Wirepas and working with AWS a lot, we are an IoT competency AWS partner, and as such, simply have to treat all projects, regardless of the initial number of devices, as potentially future infinitely scalable. I would say that the first thing we would recommend is, at the beginning of the project, try to break it into few very small pieces. We talk about it, we call it internally either phase 0 or sensor to funding phase, where if you can show with a very small effort data delivered from your production devices, not kind of Raspberry Pi, not simple demo kits, but production devices or production prototypes, to the cloud, and see that data on the dashboard, show that you can read, deliver, manage, understand, that leads to the next phase of the project. And then make sure that even the smallest architecture can be scaled, meaning, in our experience, look at regions, look at automated architecture deployments with CloudFormation, look at the volume of data. Don't assume that just because you've done a simple, 10 devices to the cloud, your architecture can automatically scale to millions of devices. Think about latency. Think about data provisioning in different regions and how that data needs to be processed. Think about GDPR rules, for example, or how the data should be stored according if there are any similar local laws. That would inevitably impact the overall architecture of your cloud network, availability of certain services, and latency to respond if your system requires a critical response. So scalability, I would say, is a step-by-step, very careful process where if it works for one device, it may not necessarily work for a million devices, but modern cloud providers will allow you to scale.
Thank you very much. Very interesting perspective. And of course, designing for scale from day one is probably what I'm hearing and recalling from this conversation. Excellent. Thanks, Gennadiy. Teemu, anything on your experience of cloud integration?
Yeah, I agree with everything that Gennadiy already said, but I think what I would add here is also at the cost aspect. So we are also AWS IoT competency company, and I think one part of the scaling is that how to scale it so that it doesn't cost millions of operating costs. Yeah. Because it's really easy to make an AWS service that is triggering trillions of lambdas with a bad architecture, and that will then show in the AWS bill. So you have to be careful when doing the scaling in technical wise, how to make it so that it's also affordable.
Yes, very good perspective. Yes, absolutely, and obviously, I mean, we've had experience also with AWS ourselves, and the interesting part is that AWS engineers are usually fairly available to help you design and architect your system, so that also the cost aspect, which is very important, I agree with you, Teemu, is taken into consideration. And if it's not from day one, there are sometimes heavy re-architectures that are required to make it, let's say, more cost efficient. Of course, all of this is usually translating into waste of time and resources. So yeah, very good and very interesting perspectives. So we are reaching now the end of this forum, and thank you very much, Gennadiy, Jukka, and Teemu, for your time. Thanks to all for participating to this session. You obviously have the names of the companies that have participated here. So just a reminder, Teemu is from our dear partner Haltian. Gennadiy is the CEO of Klika, and Jukka the CEO of Radientum. Please don't hesitate to reach out to them for the specific subjects, and I wish you a great continuation of Wirepas GO. Thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone.
Yep. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Yep. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks.
Yeah. Thank you all.